Welcome to Backboard Banter on the board with your hosts, Matt Middleton and Kevin Rayner, where the banter's as ferocious as Kylian Mbappe in that World Cup final, my guy. Holy hat trick.
Second one ever in the final. Rough for the guy that they lost. But I mean, what an absolute tour de force for the future. Kylian Mbappe has proven that he is here to stay, and he will definitely be in the GOAT debate come the future. But at the end of the day, it's all about Messi. It's all about Argentina. He lifts the cup. What an exciting time for Argentina itself.
Dude, just wanting Messi to win, having no real allegiance to Argentina besides that. I was stressed. And the first 80 minutes, you're thinking to yourself, wow, Argentina is just killing them. France has nothing. And then Mbappe just comes to life. Like the penalty kick, you're like, okay, whatever, it's just a penalty kick. But that volley, and then to have it finish with the two goals in the extra time and the penalty kicks. And Argentina's goalie, man, he was playing some serious mind games, got that sweet save at the end of extra time. Like true team effort for Argentina, but also GOAT performance for Messi with the two goals. And man, that was just, it couldn't have been a better World Cup final.
Honestly, neutral fans ate well at this World Cup, but they ate fantastically during the final. I was sad that I had to miss it. I was out skiing in minus 30-degree temperatures, but Matt was talking to me about it, and I went back and watched the highlights, and what an absolute amazing game. What great goals. The back and forth between two absolute stars. And I must say, for Di Maria to get the goal that he did, considering how important and impactful he was in that final, making the ball always be on the opposite side of the field than Kylian Mbappe. Like, shout out to Argentina. And yes, of course, Martinez, the goalkeeper. What an absolute beauty and a fantastic performance to close it out.
Dude, the thing about Di Maria scoring that goal is after half, they subbed him out pretty quickly, right? Because they got the 2-0 lead at this point. Messi's got his penalty, Di Maria's got the 2-0 goal. And I think they really started to play for the win and just ending it in a slow slog. And that's where their big mistake is, at the end of the day, I think this always happens in all sports. When you try to sit back and just rest on your lead, that's when you blow a 30-point lead in basketball. That's when you blow a 3-goal lead in the NHL. It's when you take a step back that you really, just kind of fall apart. I mean, look at the Colts this weekend, man. They blew a 33-0 lead to the Vikings. Look, that's wild.
Man,
Sorry,
I
I to bring it
no,
up.
actually, it's funny you bring it up because I saw a video the other day of like this little kid getting a Vikings jersey standing outside of the arena, and his parents are like, "We're gonna go see the game," and then I was like, "Oh, that's like the greatest comeback in NFL history." So like, shout out to that family and that little kid. But yeah, this World Cup, man, overall it was fantastic. We had some amazing moments. Let's just forget about Canada a little bit, but neutral fans gotta be
Again,
happy.
we talked about this before. We had a semifinalist and we had a quarterfinalist in our group. Both of them make it that far. We can't be too mad. Croatia beat Brazil, man. Of course they beat us.
Absolutely. And, to top it all off with Messi becoming the undisputed GOAT of GOATs, the smile on his face, like, the guy absolutely deserves it for the career that he's had. And looking at Tom Brady, Messi, maybe you should retire while you're on top, but also, he's the GOAT for a reason. You see it right at the end, right? He's like, maybe I'm not done for Argentina. Like, he just wants
And
more.
and to avenge that 2014 World Cup where he was
Yeah.
an absolute monster and then lost to Germany because Germany just had the better team, man. And then I don't know if you saw this, but there was a kid on Twitter who back in 2015 wrote that he was gonna.
Yeah.
That was wild, man. That guy's a time traveler. I don't give a I believe now. I believe in time travelers. Like not he didn't even pick the 2018 World Cup. He picked the 2 years away. He knew 2 World Cups away,
Well, and he
8 years.
said it too as, and this is the World Cup that's like not in the right time because it's happening in Qatar, so it's in a weird period. Like the way that it all came together for that tweet to exist 7 years ago is wild, my friend. But before we move on, we have to talk about Mbappe once more. The absolute force, getting a hat trick, getting 4 goals technically, with the shootout at the
The
end. Like
shootout, yeah.
this guy is the future. And, we talk about how France was just like nothing was happening for them. Well, pretty sure it was like the 50th or 60th minute when Deschamps moved Mbappe from the wing back into the
In the
middle,
center.
and then all of a sudden he has so much more room to play. And man, Mbappe, what an absolute legend.
I'm pretty sure it was early, man. It was in the first half when they took out Giroud, and everyone's thinking to themselves like, "You're taking out Olivier Giroud or this early? You guys are down
Yeah.
2 goals!" Like, and then a masterclass by the French coach. Amazing, amazing game. I couldn't have been happier, man. It's messy. It's what we wanted. It's awesome. So,
Neutral fans
hey,
eating good. And that parade, too, Argentina absolutely losing its mind. They had to shut down the whole city, basically. It was insane.
yeah, man, it's like the Raptors when we won. But let's get into basketball. That's why we're here. We're here to talk about, our takes were okay. I obviously got mine because it was so easy. The 76ers over a Steph Curry-less, over an Andrew Wiggins-less Warriors. I mean, I really should have called the Raptors over them, but hey, then I would have been wrong because, yikes.
It's okay. You would have been wrong like me. So I'm a little upset. Okay, because I got baited by the Miami injury report. So apparently last week, Miami got fined for like improperly putting, players on their injury list. So I took a quick peek at this game that was happening, and I was like, oh, no Bam Adebayo, no Jimmy Butler, like, no problem for the Spurs.
For the
Meanwhile, they
Spurs.
all played, so Miami got the W. So I'm a little upset, but yeah, I got baited. It is what it is.
Hey man, if you were Nick Wright, you'd be complaining that you can't do this, that there are gambling partners that need to know how to set the lines properly, right? So, hey, at least it wasn't too bad. It was only a 10-point loss for you. Pretty good for the Spurs, man.
We'll take the L. Honestly, the Spurs, they want to get those L's. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now who are definitely embracing the tank life. Raptors are teetering on the edge of should they, shouldn't they, but maybe not anymore.
Well, let's get into Raptors chat, man, and let's start with last night's performance because we were 1-3 or 0-3 up until that point this week. We had maybe one legitimate win in our last 10,
Yeah,
15 plus games. Like it was kind of getting brutal out here for the Raptors, and that 76ers game we were so close. But man, was it so nice to see Pascal Siakam last night. He is proving that he is legitimately a top 10 player in this league and that we can build around him to win this season. I don't know how long he can sustain this level of play. He's never played at this level. But man, 52 points efficiently. It was almost a triple double in the Garden. Oh, on a Knicks team that had won an NBA best 7 in a row. Like, give it to me.
I believe it was 8 in a row, actually, which is even better. But yeah, like, shout out to Siakam. We love this guy, like an absolute champion. But man, did we need it. Man, the team was underwater. The boys were not happy. You could see little chemistry issues, anger, things like that. Nick Nurse, we'll talk about you later because this was a win for the boys. Absolutely. It wasn't a win for the coaches. And seeing the locker room excitement, shout out to OG being the absolute king of water bottle throwing. Man was absolutely trying to put bruises on Siakam, but the energy in the room after this game was exactly what this Raptors squad needed. And hopefully it will continue to see positivity in the weeks ahead because, man, we were underwater for a while.
Well, like the loss to the Nets with the Kyrie hitting the first regular season game winner he's ever hit in his career.
Wild.
Sad.
Yeah.
The Golden State loss, like we should there is zero reason, and this goes back to our conversation last week when you're like, "Oh, we're injured. We have players on the IR." It's like they literally have their two best players. If you watch NBA basketball at all and you watch the championship run, there is no question that Andrew Wiggins and Steph Curry are that team. And we lost by 16 and let Jordan Poole drop 43 on us. Ugh! And then in the 76ers game, man, we were down like 10 points early and then we'd come back and then we'd be down 10 points again, then come back and then down 10 points again. And it was just this yo-yo effect. And then to lose in overtime like that, just running out of gas, so sad. And we really, really needed this win. We needed any kind of positivity, any kind of good vibes, man. And thank goodness we have it. thank goodness the locker room looked as excited and happy as it did, because I've been hearing from the Raptors media that there's not a lot of chemistry going on in this team, and it feels like they're kind of butting heads.
I mean, losing streaks does that, right? I mean, not being in the right place, in the right situation on the standings makes teams unhappy. And we talk about how there's so many personalities on this team. There's so many guys that either think that they're him, could be him, want to be him. Like, we're in this situation where we're happy to see a guy like Juancho Hernangomez go out there and just be a role player, just absolutely crush
Mhm.
it, doing what he needs to do day in and day out. Because OG, Siakam, Fred, Scotty, Gary, all of these guys want to be him. Let's be honest. Maybe a little bit less from Fred. He's accepting his, I'm the grandpappy of this team. I'm going to be the leader. But even him chucking up shots the way he does, like we got a lot of guys that want to be scorers.
And like, he's been struggling, and you're right. Like, we've talked about it before, man. It feels like we've got too much talent for starting five, and there's not enough of the ball to go around. The the thing is they all have like, this idea of 6'9" is we're getting players who have such similar skill sets, and so they're all top half of the league in what they do easily, right? Like Scotty Barnes, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Fred VanVleet, Pascal
Yeah.
Siakam. They're the better players at their position. You could argue that they're top 50% of starters in this league. That's too much for everybody, though, because everybody wants to ensure that they're viewed that way. And it's hard when there's only one ball to go around and there's five guys. And so really, it's not an issue of talent, because we've seen the players on our roster play better than this. It's really an issue of how we're utilizing our talent, and that's why the fans are going after Nick Nurse like the way that they have been, right?
I mean, it's completely reasonable. It's all about utilization. The fact that so many players around the league look at this roster and are like, I'm scared to play the Raptors. I'm scared of the defense that I'm going to hit. I'm scared of what's happening. And our defense isn't a top 10 in the league, isn't where it should be. I'm sorry, the coach brings all that together. The coach makes that happen, and we can praise Nick for his chess battles in the past. We can praise Nick for his playoff success. But that's only 16 games, hopefully 16 games for every happy team in the season. There's so many other games that need to be played, and you have to create a product that is willing to function and have chemistry in that lead up to the playoffs so that you hit that perfect point and you create success when the games matter. People always joke about how the regular season doesn't matter. Right now, that is a mentality that we cannot have, and Nurse needs to wake up a little bit, unfortunately.
We also need to learn how to play a system where we can lose players and not completely fall apart, because it feels like there's no real like plug and play system option. It feels like we are leaving Thad Young, when he's our center, to guard the rim himself. He's the oldest, the least athletic player on our team. Yes, he's 6'9", 6'10", but we've got so many other guys who are 6'9", 6'10", who are more athletic. Like, it just feels like there's continuity issues and utilization issues, and again, that comes back down to Nick Nurse and how he plays his roster. Pascal Siakam, even last night, like, it worked out, so it looks like a good play. He rested Pascal Siakam for the first, I think, what, 5 minutes of the fourth quarter, 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, when Pascal Siakam was on fire, right? Like, if I'm a coach, I need this win. I need my best player on the floor. He's the only one scoring offense. I'm gonna go ride with him, and
Yeah.
like, and hopefully, like, we get a big enough lead so that his fatigue down the stretch isn't going to be noticed that much. But Nick didn't do that. He takes him out of the game, and thankfully, Pascal did get to 52. He scored 9 in that fourth quarter, but it was a struggle to get those 9, man. And considering he had 43, he was like 43, 9 and 7, and ends the game 52, 9 and 7. Like, he could have got 60. Keep the man in the game, keep him hot. And Nick makes decisions like that on a consistent basis. And I don't know, man. I feel like it's a little bit too early to pull the ripcord, and we got to let him figure it out. But my leash is getting shorter and shorter.
The last two
But
weeks, Matt has been very upset with Nick Nurse, and I mean, I trying to think before this stretch. I don't think if we've had really negative words on this podcast for Nurse before. Like we've been always
never.
riding pretty high on the Nurse train, and for good reason up until this point, right? Like the playoff success we've seen. Like I mentioned it, but this is a very important time for this Raptors team because we talk about all these teams tanking in the league. We talk about the success that we could have versus the success that the future could bring by being bad. Like it is decision time, and if Nurse wants to be a playoff coach, if he wants to continue the success that he's had, and I mean Siakam's game was his 200th win with the Raptors. I don't know if you knew that. But like
Yeah,
that's pretty sweet for a coach, to get to that milestone. I know that he's got more
in
wins
five
than
seasons.
losses, right? Like
5 seasons.
that's pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
I would love for it to continue, right? Like I've loved the playoff chess matches that Nurse has been able to have in the playoffs. But we need to get to the playoffs, and sitting as what, the 10th seed right now, just on the edge, that's a little scary.
It's very scary, man. And you're right. We've never talked negatively about Nick Nurse on this podcast. We've always been he's a top 5 NBA coach. He's doing his thing, and he's always been a great chess match guy. Realizing what the other team has and how to figure out how to stop them. But when other teams and superstars like Joel Embiid are making jokes like, well, the Raptors don't even really care about winning. They care about stopping the other team's best player.
Yeah,
Like, again, it's an indication that like maybe our priorities are in the wrong spot, right? Maybe we need to learn how to utilize this roster a little bit better and squeeze the most juice that we can out of it. And I don't think that that's happening right now. I honestly also think that like our guys are struggling, and again, we've seen them play at a higher level, so hopefully it's just a stretch where they regress back to the mean of being good. And a guy like Scotty, again, he's had an up and down season, and he is the poster boy for our road home record. On the road, he's awful. He's averaging like 10, 4, and 3 or something like that. At home, he's averaging 18, like 9 and 7. He's a completely different player at home. But I think there's a disconnect with him wanting to be that guy so bad and not wanting to learn underneath Pascal, where he wants to be the focal point. He wants the recognition. He wants the attention,
yeah,
and he's not there yet. Like he isn't. He's got all the skill in the world. He's going to be better than Pascal Siakam is if he puts in the work that Pascal put in, right? Like it's just a
yeah,
fact. And like he's just not there. Like that step back that he took, in the first half against Julius Randle, I think, where he
yeah,
like it was like the ugliest finish to a shot. It was short. And, like he had 4 chances at a putback on a rebound that he couldn't get like early on in the game. He looks disengaged on defense. And then I texted you about this play in the fourth quarter or in the second quarter, right before halftime, about 4 minutes left. He's on a fast break with Wancho and Siakam. Siakam is a 3-on-1, is driving and picking up the defender, and has 2 trailers on each side. Instead of dropping it to Scotty for an easy bucket when in a game where Scotty only got one easy bucket, which
yeah,
again Siakam set up. But he drops it to Wancho. Wancho goes up for the easy layup. They go back on defense. Scotty literally goes down to where Siakam is and takes him and pushes him aggressively out to the line. And I think like that just underscores there's a headbutt between the young guys and the old guys. The young guys want it to be their team. They want to win their way. They want to win with their methodology. And that way is going to get us like 35 wins. Whereas Siakam and Fred VanVleet are like, no, guys, follow us, win like us,
hmm
be the second tier options to us, and we'll get 50 wins. And I think there's just like that fighting that's going on. And you know me and the basketball gods, man. The basketball gods like to reward team play basketball. They don't like to reward you shoot my shoot, you shoot my shoot. And that's why Boston sucked at the beginning of last year because they were playing that way. Once they figured out how to be cohesive, a team unit, that's when they could take off. And, knock on wood, man, that we're the Boston of this year, that we can, we struggled it through the first half. We figured it out. Nick Nurse gets the lineups going, and then in the second half of the season, we were a second half team last year. Let's be a second half team again, and let's go 35 and 15, get to 50 wins, and do some damage in the playoffs.
I mean, yeah, and the craziest thing too is like the first like 7 or 8 games of the season, we really saw that type of play that we're hoping to see down the second half of the season, right? Like Siakam was the guy. The boys were playing well. Barnes was, I love that if you go on r/NBA and you find every single Barnes game where he's only put up like 10 and less points, it's posted on the front page and everyone's talking about it. Meanwhile, there's like 4 or 5 games in between each of these where he's putting up 18, he's putting up 26, right? But I think
Yeah.
that Barnes really does thrive when the whole team around him is thriving. He has that young kid energy, and I look at this game from Siakam, right? I'm pretty sure Siakam got 16 free throws, put in 15 of them. Like a
That was
veteran,
20.
that's the thing. It might even be even more. But the simple fact of the matter is, a veteran player who has a little bit more respect in the league because he's been around more, he's been an all-star, is going to get calls, and then he's going to be able to utilize those calls to get points, right?
Absolutely.
Siakam was at his best, and that's what we need to see to be the playoff contender that we want to be. And hopefully more of these performances from him will have guys like Scotty going, okay, I can trust in that. I can get me 6 assists off of Siakam tonight. Fred can take a step back because he doesn't need to be chucking shots up. OG can be the defensive force that he is and be in the corner knocking down 4 threes because Siakam is driving and getting him those open lanes. Like, I think that this successful win will hopefully drive us into the future and we'll get to see the team come together into that positive state, which we saw the first 10 games of the season.
No, yeah, absolutely, man. And Scotty's gonna need to learn how to fit into Siakam's world because you're right. Like he got 18 free throw attempts last night. He knocked down 16. Like he is getting the whistle because he's a respected NBA veteran who's also been on all NBA teams. Scotty, and we've talked about it, I believe, earlier in the podcast previously about how Scotty's not fighting through the contact as much as he did last year. How
Mm-hmm.
he's resting on the fact that he was rookie of the year, that he should be getting that respect from the officials, and he's not, and it's affecting his game. But if he can just, not worry about it, let Siakam do his thing, fall into line. Like we could do this, man. And Siakam's usage since he came back from that little minor injury has been much lower. He was averaging 33% usage before he went out,
Yeah.
and now it's down to about 31% on the season. So that tells you that he's obviously being utilized quite a bit less during this recent stretch where we've been losing. So maybe maybe utilize him a little bit more, get him in the 32 range every game, and just play like that. Like if he's going to be this impactful and this amazing, like man, I've not been the biggest proponent of Siakam on this show. I have, and I will eat my words on this. Like I have been the person who has been like, let's trade him, let's get some value out of him, let's go for Ben Simmons. If he's gonna play like this, man, like I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna shut my mouth, and he can utilize the ball 33% of the time, and we can win some games because that's the only way that I see us winning right now as it's currently constructed.
Well, and this is an important factor to realize, right? Like, and this is why we also are struggling with Nick Nurse. We wish he had a little bit more flexibility because if Gary, if Scotty, if OG had a little bit more confidence to know that if they come out and they knock down 5 shots straight, Nurse might be more willing to give them more opportunity. We haven't seen that a lot of the time, right? You talk about Siakam getting sit, at the beginning of the fourth quarter, even though he's the hot hand, keep riding him, right? Like if that's OG, if that's Scotty, and they have the hot hand, and then they're suddenly getting sit, aren't they having the mental thought of, man, why am I not out there? Why am I not able to just be doing what I need to be doing for my team right now? Like this is the disconnect that we're starting to see, and as fans who are really trying to pay attention, we're starting to notice these cracks. We're really able to delve a little bit deeper and start to see where the problems lie. And if we can see the problems, it's got to be glaringly obvious to these players. And if Nurse doesn't see this, that's a little bit of a headstrong issue on the other end, right?
I think that he's trying to impose more of his play style, and it's just not working. We don't have the players to do it, and he's not adjusting. Look, I saw this in the Montreal Canadiens last year. The difference is night and day in this team. Dominic Ducharme coached a system. He did not coach players. Nick Nurse is coaching a system that isn't working for our players. You need to adapt. You need to adjust. Our guys can only do what they can do. Look, I am by no means close to a perfect person, man. But I've got some strengths. You ask me to do them, I'm going to stay in my lane. I'm going to be good. You ask me to go outside of that, I'm going to be awful, man. You ask me to talk about soccer in depth, I am not going to know about soccer in depth. You want to talk hockey, you want to talk basketball, you want to talk football, I got you. I'm there. I've got all the stats. Like, it's just, got to know your lane, and you got to. And the thing about being a coach is not only being a great motivator, being a great X's and O's guy, understanding the game, it's also reading the players that you have and playing to their advantages. Minimizing the disadvantages you have on our team, which is 3-point shooting and rim protecting, and really focusing in on what we do have, which is size, athleticism, and defense. And like that's just not what we're doing. We're allowing the 3-point and the rim protection to be our glaring weaknesses because we sell out on threes on defense, which allows teams to easily kick it in, right? And then we're getting killed on the inside.
Yep.
And on offense, we just aren't good enough shooting the ball. We don't have shooters. We have one guy who is shooting league average. That is Malachi Flynn, who doesn't play.
It's
Like,
actually it's funny you bring him up because I was just about to be like, you know who's been playing really well recently and doing
yeah,
decent.
he's scratching and clawing, bro. You could see he wants it.
We
Like,
really do, honestly, and that is another moment where we once again continue the conversation of in the past. Hey Nurse, give a little bit more time. Let Malachi get out there. Let him fail. Let our young guys fail. Coloco's only going to be a successful center in the league if he gets to fail, and that's always the struggle of a team whose mentality is we just want to win aggressively. Can't always
dude,
do that.
the biggest entrepreneurs, the biggest billionaires, the most successful people in the world, they will tell you one thing: don't be afraid to fail, because everyone fails. The most successful people in this world failed way more than you or I ever did, but they also got success out of that failure. Michael Jordan missed way more shots than he hit. LeBron James has failed more times than he's succeeded in the NBA finals, and we still know that he is a winner. He is a champion. He is inarguably one of two of the best players of all time. Like, look, he's my goat. Michael Jordan, whatever. He's inarguably top two, right? And he's failed 6 times in the finals. 6 times.
You have to be willing to learn and adapt and grow. And that's what this team is in right now. They're in that stage of needing to grow, needing to adapt. It's why I like guys like Chris Boucher. It's why I like guys like Thad Young. It's why I love what Wancho has turned into, right? Having people on your roster who aren't there for themselves. They're there for the team. And that's always how they're going to play, right? And that's what's beautiful. Now, I will also mention that, our shooting woes suck. And it's kind of hilarious that, you look at guys like Utah Watanabe, you look at guys like Svi Mikhailov, everyone's leading the Raptors as good shooters, but they just can't shoot under us. So I don't know if there is something else going on in Toronto, but our shooting woes may just always exist.
Bro, it's I have no idea. It's so frustrating. And Gary Trent should be a better 3-point shooter. Fred VanVleet should be a better 3-point shooter. Like, should be league average minimum. Both those guys. OG Anunoby has hit some of the most impressive shots I have ever seen in a Raptors uniform from three
Absolutely.
point. And
Absolutely.
he Siakam is our second best three shooter this year, and actually out of the guys who are getting regular minutes, he's our best. And that is the issue in and of itself. The man who literally isn't a quote unquote elite superstar top player in the league because of his 3-point shooting is our best 3-point shooter. Like, oh, it's
Bro,
sad, bro. It's
every
so
time
sad.
Siakam takes a 3-point shot when he's got relative lane space, I'm just like, I clench and I'm like, please go in, please. Like, that's
He's
the story
good,
we're
man.
in.
He's hitting like 36%, 35%. And like he's hitting pull-ups this year. He's hitting catch and shoot. Like I can't say enough about Siakam this year. This man, he's turned my opinion about him. I don't know how long that's sustainable though, right? Like he's 29. Is he gonna only do this for 3 more years? You brought up a great point. What if he gets injured during the next 4 years?
Well, and I think I
Do
also
we
mentioned
catch our
this.
chip now
Right, I
and
think I
get
mentioned
a
this last
backup?
year or last week in the episode talking about Julius Randle, right? Like, is this a Julius Randle peak that we need to take advantage of before it falls back down to earth, right? That the Knicks experienced. Like, the Siakam fan in me wants to believe that this is going to last, that this is going to sustain. But, like, I don't see him doing this at 35. I don't, right? And so it's like, where do we stand?
34?
Yeah,
Like, how many guys at 34 years old are dominating the NBA? Like, outside of Kevin Durant and LeBron James and Steph Curry, like, these guys don't exist.
yeah.
So,
We definitely have a lot to be looking for in the next few weeks. We're going to definitely be unpacking this team coming to the new year, but besides OG continuing his Defensive Player of the Year campaign and the guys hoping to get minutes, like we are really just in limbo, watching the games, hoping to see
waiting
these
for
happy
Siakam.
moments. Waiting for
Waiting for
Siakam to go off.
Siakam to save us, bro. Like, honestly, we've got the Cavs coming up. We've got the Clippers. We're not gonna record over Christmas. We're gonna record in the New Year. So we've also got the Grizz, the Suns, the Pacers, and the Bucks the next week after that. Like, the recent stretch of play tells me like we'll be lucky to win a game. Like, we'll be lucky to win a game. And like, I'm looking at the Pacers game and I'm thinking that's probably the most likely win. And I'm thinking the Pacers have been playing pretty well this season.
That's a
And I'm
trap
like,
game
the
for us.
Clippers? Exactly. Like, what, we're gonna beat the Clippers? Maybe. Definitely not the Bucks, definitely not the Grizz. And yeah, we beat the Cavs twice, but if you take our recent play into account and their recent play, they should smoke us.
Right, and that's the thing, right? We were talking last week about this difficult stretch to end the year that this Raptors team has to contend with, and we can hope that we're going to see positivity, but as you've mentioned, like we're expecting losses. We're expecting to take some L's from these teams. A lot of these teams, you look at the Grizzlies, you look at the Suns, you look at the Bucks, they think they're contenders, right? The Cavs with Donovan Mitchell the way he's been playing, I mean, yeah, they know they're gonna lose to us because we're the Toronto Raptors and we somehow can beat the Cavs, but they're thinking of themselves as contenders right now. The Pacers, who should be in the bottom, they're thinking about themselves as a playoff team. Like this is a struggle.
3-3, bro, would be like a good week, like a good 2 week stretch for us in play, which is just sad, man.
Man, I'm absolutely with you there. We don't get a Christmas Day game, but we definitely don't deserve one this year. Siakam maybe could deserve to be. We can lend
Siakam does.
we can
Yo,
lend Siakam out to another team so he can play on Christmas Day as he deserves.
best part about Siakam dropping 52 points in the Garden is that it's undeniable for ESPN.
There it is.
They in all the major sports talk shows in the United States, if you are not talking about Pascal Siakam today, you are doing it wrong. You are a biased media outlet and you are doing it wrong. Pascal Siakam is the story of the night. Thank
And
you.
also, I think it's pretty great that DeMar held this record right now for the highest points rapper, and now Siakam has tied it as the 27th, 29th pick in the draft, and the guy who holds the record is an
27.
undrafted player for Toronto.
Fred
Like,
VanVleet.
shout out
And
to
both
Fred and
guys who
Siakam.
came up under them. Like, it's
And Freddie in the post game interview when they were asking, were you thinking about him passing you 54? And he was like, oh, not until the last 8 seconds or so. And then I was like, I'm gonna hold the ball. I don't want him to get those 2 free throws. Just to be sure. Like the joking, like hilariousness between the two of them, like it makes me happy to see these moments.
Well, I think like the groups, like Fred and Siakam are the group. They're the two, and I think OG is like a good middle guy between them. But I feel like he never really fit in with the 2 older ones, and he's fitting in more with the young ones. So I could see him almost giving the young guys even more ammunition to be like, we should trade you old boys. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. I think that's good for the Raptors. What about you, man?
Yeah, we'll come back to this in the new year. Oh my God, there's so much talk about the big thing right now that I want to bring up first, obviously, is this AD foot injury. The Lakers were somehow finally looking like they were coming back to relevance. AD was looking legit.
Record is up.
And here they are now. AD's going to be out for a month at least. Like, this is tough times once again for LA.
Bruh. they're just bad. Like, but like we were saying it before, like AD getting injured in the last 4 years, 5 years, most of his career is like Steph Curry hitting a three. It's going to happen. Like it's like don't bet against it because you will lose money. And I think this is his second injury so far this season. And it's an ankle or foot injury, which is not what he's been holding on to his back for all of the years. So like it's par for the course, man. It's why nobody believes in the Lakers, even during that massive stretch when they were playing very well. I'm the only, crazy person who's like, we're getting a Lakers Nets final, but like, because everybody knows, like, year 20 LeBron, still a top 10 player, can't carry the Lakers. And AD, if he plays like a top 10 player, yeah, they're good and they can make the playoffs, but he's got to be available.
Well,
And he's not.
when you think about the West too right now, when you think about the teams that they have to go through, it's not just the fall apart Phoenix Suns and the standing on top of the league, we can't do anything in the playoffs Utah Jazz, right? The Clippers might actually be healthy. The Grizzlies and Pelicans look like they're about to be staples of the West for the next 5 years. Like there is a lot that they're gonna have to do to make their
The
any
Suns look
progress up.
the Suns look good. Um, you know,
Yeah,
we've got Portland playing well, we've got Sacramento playing well. Golden State's gonna get better eventually when they get Andrew Wiggins and Golden State and Steph Curry back. He is Golden State. You just call him Golden
let's be
State. We all
honest.
know who we're talking about. Minnesota may figure it out one day. They did drop 150 points the other night.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it's a crapshoot. It's a crapshoot out there in the West right now, right? Like it's chaos. There's so many teams that are relevant. There's so many teams that could show up and do things. I mean, like, can I talk about Sacramento for a second? Vivek added
go
3 more lights to the beam. It is now even bigger. Like, I love this team. I think it's so funny the way this is coming together. The fact that they got permission from the aviation board so that they could have the beam go until midnight every night on their wins. Like, man, Sacramento has to be the most fun team in the NBA right now.
honestly, when you're a struggling franchise who has been, also ran for so long and you start to win, it kind of reminds me of the Carolina Hurricanes storm surge
Okay.
when they finally got good like 3-4 years ago. They would like do these celebrations at the end of every game, like that they won at home. They would like bring out a basketball net and dunk the ball in skates and full hockey gear. Like they'd play soccer, they'd bowl, they would just have a good time at the end of the game, give the fans some extra enjoyment besides the win and besides the game. And when you're a small market team and again an also ran franchise, you need to do something. And hey man, they're having a great time. Sad that like I kind of wish we were the Sacramento Kings right now. Like I don't know what I'm
honestly,
doing, bro. Like,
honestly, it's so funny and like we have to be realistic with the Sacramento team. Like their best bet is winning the Pat Bev play-in trophy. Like that's probably what they're looking for right now in their season for success, or maybe getting to lose in the first round. Like that's the expectation for Sacramento. But right now, the fan base is living it up, and they're so happy getting to light that beam every few days.
hey, you know what, man? TD and Darren Fox can jump on the table and rip their jerseys off when they win the play-in.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they had a triple double come out of them. Like the Kings are fun, and
No, they're good.
I wish we could be them. That's a
Honest,
hilarious comment. I can't. I'm thinking about it now
honestly,
too.
I think I say it every single week, but the NBA talent level and the disparity between teams is so small right now. It's amazing. It's just, the best teams can lose to the worst teams and the worst teams can beat the best teams, and it's just phenomenal to see. Every team has, an upper echelon level player, multiple even, and it's not couldn't be a better time for the league, man. I'm serious.
And you're comment too about any team winning or losing, right? Any team can be at the top. Like the Celtics and the Pelicans are on 4-game losing streaks. Where if you'd have talked about them, we were talking about them, 4 days
Last week,
ago. The Celtics were unbeatable. The Pelicans were finally getting to the top, and they weren't going to be
the
stopped. But
West. Yeah.
this can happen, right? It's a crapshoot. The Cavs are on a 5-game win streak. OKC's got 3 games in a row winning. Like, it's beautiful.
Utah's still hanging around in the playoffs, boys. Like, let's go.
It's a beautiful time as an NBA fan. You know, we talked about how the World Cup was such a neutral, fan experience. Well, as an NBA fan whose Raptors team is not living their best life, like, I'm a bit of a neutral fan right now. I'm tuning in for good matches here and there, trying to see stars play well. Like, it's just how it is.
Yeah, bro, Kevin Durant and those Nets on a 7-game heater, like KD's been unbelievable. I gotta bring this up, man. Giannis, Embiid, KD, and Tatum. One of them isn't gonna start. You throw Siakam in there, who's not even gonna get a sniff. Like, the Eastern Conference is just loaded with talent. All the guards are out west, but hey, man, you want some bigs? Come out east, because like besides Jokic, they got nobody out there.
Man, it's kind of crazy, the amount of life that has thrived in the East since LeBron left it, like the amount of talent and
burning it down every year.
That's the thing, right? Like, you think about some of those great teams that he absolutely torched in the playoffs, right?
And they're a great team.
I don't want to think about the Raptors anymore, okay? I'm talking about that Pacers team, I'm talking about the Hawks team, all these different things.
The PG Pacers team, the 1-seed Atlanta Hawks with Al Horford.
But like, we're seeing so many great teams come out of the East right now. Like, it's such a pleasure to be a fan of the Eastern Conference and see guys like Giannis be, on the pantheon that he is at the level. So it's a good time as an NBA fan.
Man, it's absolutely amazing to be an NBA fan, and hopefully our Raptors turn it around, man, because we could be the Celtics of last year. Let's go, baby.
Right, and we're not too far out of it, right? Like, all we need is a good win streak. You look at the Knicks, right? Who are what, 18 and 14?
14.
Right, like before their 8-game win streak. Most people were saying that, most people were looking at this team and going,
they're 10 and 13.
They're not really relevant. They're not really going to do anything. So that's the beauty of it right now. All we need is one good streak to be back in it.
Go back 2 episodes. I'm pretty sure we were making fun of the Knicks. So
just you can go back
2 weeks, right?
You could go back and pretty much just pick a random episode. We might be making fun of the Knicks at this point.
Bing bong.
All right, my friend. Well, not much for me. I think that's pretty much it. We can move to takes if you're ready.
Well, I mean, for the takes, I'm going to put on the Santa hat because, end of the year. We are last episode of 2022. Christmas is literally in, 3-4 days. And so I'm going to go with the games on tonight's schedule. I'm going to say that the Pels, they're going to get their 4th win over the Spurs. I think that's the season sweep, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Which is, again, they're on a 4-game losing streak. They should snap it tonight against the Spurs, but hey, they've been playing poorly. And then I'm going to also give you the Jazz. They get the revenge win against the Washington Wizards. They lost their previous matchup earlier in the year. Okay. I think the Jazz are going to take them.
I mean, I want that because I had Washington being at the bottom of the standings at the beginning of the year, and I want to keep seeing them fall further and further down. So I'm all on board with those takes. For me, I'm throwing one out to the future. This Grizzlies team just looks unbeatable. I saw an interview with John Morant the other day where they were asking him, so what team are you worried about? And he's like, Celtics. And then they go, no, nobody in the West. And he's like, I'm not worried about the West. And I'm like, man. And we're not even we're talking about a team that hasn't had Desmond Bane, potentially the next shooter of the league, playing at all. Man, Grizzlies are going to make it to the Western Conference Finals easily.
Probably facing the Pels, eh?
That's what my guess is, man, at this point. Like, unless Golden State gets healthy, unless Phoenix decides to stick around, unless Luka gets some help, right? Like
any help.
Now, we haven't talked about Denver. I can't have this conversation without at least bringing up Nikola Jokic and the beast that he is, right? Like, Grizzlies, Pels, Denver, those are my picks right now for the 3
People talking about him as MVP. Man's ineligible. I don't even know why the media's talking about it.
You can't have 3. It's not allowed.
All right, man. Not 3 in a row without at least winning the NBA Finals. Come on. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for being here for our last episode of 2022. We appreciate you all. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook at The Board Sports. Like, subscribe, give us that thumbs up, and check out theboardsports.net for new episodes and blog posts.
And we'll talk to you next time.